Hello everybody, hope you're having a wonderful day. And this is lesson number 18 in our dive into the wonderful world of music theory. And today we're going to be expanding on what we learned last lesson. So last lesson we learned about time signatures. And if you haven't seen that lesson or you're not familiar with what time signatures are, I highly encourage you to go do that. Because everything we're going to be talking about here is centered on time signatures. With that being said, today what we're going to be talking about is actually, I don't know what to call it, maybe let's call it clapping out notes. So far we were talking about notes. I have told you that notes are a way for us to see how long or short a sound is supposed to be played, right? It's supposed to tell how long or short. But I haven't really told you how to do that, right? I told you that will make sense when we learn time signature. But we have our time signature, so now I'm going to tell you how to do that, and we're actually going to learn how to read and actually play music in this, just like we did when we were talking about pitch, when we had staff and we had all those notes. Here we're going to be talking about how to read the rhythm, how to read the duration, like that, or that, or the rhythm of it. And then later we'll put these two things together and we'll actually be able to cohesively read music, because rhythm and pitch are the two of the most greatest elements of music, and of course we've talked about that before. So regardless, today we're going to be learning about how to actually clap out, or if you have an instrument, play certain rhythms with certain time signatures. And I'm going to use the piano that's right next to me, and I'm just going to play one pitch over and over again, just so you get, just so that I can properly sustain it. So that being said, let's start. So if I have a time signature, and the way in which these notes operate is very indicative of the time signature. It's very dependent on the time signature. So that's why I never told you that a half note is 2 beats or a half note is 2 seconds or anything, because that's not what a half note corresponds to. No, a half note has a value and that's it. The time signature tells us how many counts it is. So for those of you who may be unfamiliar, this 4/4 time signature, what it means is, that means that there are 4 counts in a bar. That means I count the music like 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, because as I said, bars, you repeat the same count each bar, right? And that's extremely important for what we're going to be doing today. And we also learned that each count is worth a quarter note. So I'm going to write that down here. Sorry about that. That means a quarter note is the same as 1 count. And what that actually means is, if I have a quarter note written in a 4/4 time signature, that means that I am going to sustain that sound for exactly 1 count. That's literally what it means, because a quarter note is 1 count. Remember, this is what this 4 means, that each count is worth a quarter note. So let's demonstrate what that means. So if I'm counting 1, 2, 3, 4, exactly one count I'm going to play the quarter note. So let me do it. So if I play a quarter note, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. So there you go. 1, 2, 3. That's how long a quarter note is, the way I was counting. At that tempo, at that speed. Right? That's how long a quarter note is in a 4/4 time signature. So that's what it means. If I'm counting 1, 2, 3, 4, that means a quarter note is exactly, it's supposed to be played for exactly 1 count. Okay, maybe I'll slow down my counting so you get a better understanding. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. I hold it for exactly 1 count, no more, no less. That's what it means. That's what a quarter note means in context of a 4/4 time signature. And I know this because of the bottom number. The bottom number is telling me that a quarter note is equal to 1 count, right? Maybe in a different time signature it will be equal to 2 counts or half a count or whatever else, right? So, but in a 4/4 time signature, because this 4 is telling me that because this 4 is telling me that each count is worth a quarter note, I can say the quarter note is equal to 1 count, and the top 4 is telling me I'm supposed to count 1, 2, 3, 4 per bar, and that's going to become relevant as we go on. Similarly, now this is where it becomes important. Actually, let me do another example before I move on. So let's actually construct some real music in a 4/4 time signature. 4 quarter notes in a bar, probably one of the most common things you find in a 4/4 time signature. 4 quarter notes in a bar. So the way I would play this, right, since each quarter note is worth a count, is like this: 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm playing each note for exactly one count worth of time. Once again, 1, 2, 3, 4. And you notice that the fact that I'm counting in 4 is very important. So I'm counting in my head. And this usually happens in your head. So if I do it in my head, yeah, so you hear musicians are often counting in their head and they're just playing. So this is what it means. Since each quarter note is worth one count, I'm going to sustain that sound for exactly one count each. So yeah, once again, and yeah. So now let's move on to talk about other notes. So in a 4/4 time signature, I can't stress this enough. The quarter note is equal to one count in a 4/4 time signature because that's what the bottom 4 means. A half note. I want you to pause the video and think about how many counts a half note would be. So I'm assuming you paused and you've thought about it, and the answer is, as you might expect, 2 counts. Half note is worth 2 counts. Why? Because a half note is, we discussed this due to the value, a half note is twice as long as a quarter note, or two quarter notes make a half note. That's why if a quarter note is 1 count, a half note is 2 count. Once again, because a half note is equal to 2 quarter notes, if a quarter note is 1 count, the half note is equal to 2 counts in a 4/4 time signature. So this time signature is telling me that this is true, and using this I can reverse engineer everything else. So what does it mean for a half note to be equal to 2 counts? That means that I'm going to sustain that sound for exactly 2 counts. So if I write 2 half notes, just so I can make this music, oh, sorry about that, just so I can make this music relatively, realistic. If I write 2 half notes, what this means is that I'm going to sustain both sounds for exactly 2 counts. So let's figure this out. Let me demonstrate. So 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So I'm sustaining both sounds for exactly 2 counts. Let's try that again. 1, 2, 3, 4. And this time without me shouting it out. And now if I want to play this music all together, the bars don't mean anything in terms of I stop in a bar. No, you don't stop after a bar. You keep on playing the music. It is just to it is just to make it easier for me to read. I'm not required to stop after a bar. So if I play this, which means I just play it in sequence, each quarter note is worth being 1 count and each half note being 2 counts. The music sounds like this, with me counting 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Without me counting, so see, we're actually starting to play music. This is relatively exciting, isn't it? It's pretty exciting. And once again, so the reason I'm counting 1, 2, 3, 4, that's how you're supposed to count the music. That's what the stop for means. There are 4 counts on the bar, so you count like that. And this is one very important thing, that you can modulate the speed. So the same music can be played at whatever speed you want. You could play it at really fast or really slow, and it would still remain the same music because of the structure that we've created when we write music, and it's made with that intention in mind. Regardless, the way this works is I'm counting 1, 2, 3, 4, and because a quarter note is worth 1 count, I know that for a fact because of this bottom 4, a half note is worth 2 counts. Now let's move on to another note. What is a whole note worth? So I'm assuming pause the video and give it a try, and the answer is 4 counts. Again, in a 4/4 time signature, this changes as you change time signature, and I'll explain how and why, right? A whole note is worth 4 counts. Why? Because a whole note is worth 4 quarter notes, and since each quarter note is worth a count, a whole note is therefore worth 4 counts. Logically think about it, right? And once again, what this means is I'm going to sustain a whole note for exactly 4 counts. That means when I'm playing it, the whole note is going to be played for 4 counts. So once again, in a 4/4 bar, only one whole note goes because we talked about this. The total value of each note needs to be the same as 4 quarter notes. And let's try to now. If I just play this bar, let's see what happens. So remember, a whole note is 4 counts. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So in the entire 4 counts, I sustain that. Why? Because it's a whole note. So now let me try playing the entire thing from the beginning. Once again, the bars don't prompt me to stop, they just make it easier to read. So, and sometimes I'll count out 1, 2, 3, 4 starting before I start. A lot of people do that. A lot of people do that. It's just to define the tempo and the pulse before you start, and it's going to probably it's very helpful to you. So I'm gonna do that again. So it's not so yeah, the second bar is when I start playing. So 1 2 3 4, 1 2 3 4, 1 2 3 4, 1 2 3 4. Now without me counting. So as I said, in this video we're only going to be covering the 4/4 time signature, because this works slightly differently as we go into some other time signatures. So but in this video and in the video that follows this, we'll be talking about only the 4/4 time signature and how this works, and then in later videos we'll be talking about how this works with the time signatures. Okay, so once again, this is only true in the 4/4 time signature and a couple of others, right? So this whole 1 count, 2 count, 4 count, maybe half count or whatever is it only works. It is dependent on the time signature. Is what I'm trying to say. If I have a different time signature, this might very well be different, and that's because this bottom, it all has to do with this bottom number. This bottom number means that one count is a quarter note. If this was 2, then suddenly a half note becomes a 1 count, or if it was 1, suddenly a whole note becomes a 1 count, or if it's 8, suddenly an eighth note is a 1 count. So it all depends. But regardless, for 4/4 time signature, this is the situation. This is the situation. Why? Because 4 means a quarter note is equal to 1 count, and just the rest. So now, keeping this in mind and what we've learned, I'm gonna write another. I'm gonna write some music which is gonna combine some of these notes together. So let's try doing that. So let's write some music here, and I encourage you after I'm done to pause the video and try to play it yourself. So let's try to play this. Right? I mean, you can of course come up with multiple more creative rhythms, right? But let's first try to play this rhythm. Okay? So I encourage you to pause the video. You don't even need an instrument. You can hum this out, or you can clap it out, or whatever you feel comfortable. If you have an instrument on you, you might want to try to play it. I encourage you to pause the video here and try based on the system that we've got here, because it's 4/4, and figure out what we need to do. So Mr. If you pause it and give it a try. So keeping in mind that these are all 1 count, and this half note right here is 2 counts, and this whole note right here is 4 counts, I would play it like this. So I'm gonna first start counting and then 1 bar, and then we'll start. So as I said, you have to count 1 2 3 4, because the top number, it's 4 counts per bar, 4/4, right? 1 2 3 4, 1 2 3 4, 1 2 3 4, 1 2 3 4, 1 2 3 4. Okay, so I'll play that once again without me counting, so you can see if you got it correct. I'll play that one. I'll play that once more if you can without counting, so you can see if you got it correct. Okay, now let's try another one. So I'll take same time signature. Let's try a new one. Sorry, there seems to be some construction noise. I do apologize for that. And once again, I encourage you to pause the video and try to play this yourself. And you don't have to pardon my handwriting, but hopefully still legible. Okay, so I'm assuming you paused the video, giving it a try, and now let's see if you failed or succeeded. So once again, I know that this half note is going to be 2 counts. I have not used a whole note here. Once again, you'll have to forgive the construction noise. And I know that each one of these quarter notes is going to be 1 count, and it is 2 counts. With that knowledge in mind, I'm going to try to play it. So I'll play it while counting first. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And I will play that now without counting. So hopefully you've been able to understand what I'm doing here, right? So since the half note is 2 counts, I'm holding it for 2 counts, each quarter note is only 1 count, so I'm only holding it for 1 count, and that's the entire way it works. And you might notice I'm not, making full use of my piano, I'm only pressing 1 key, but that's because this is referring to rhythm. I just want to clarify that. So there's no pitch involved here. I don't know which note is higher or which note is lower, or whether it's C or D. I just know the rhythm. And when you put the rhythm and pitch together, like what the duration is, and when you put this together is when you get full sheet of you get a full sheet of music. Now let's try one last one before we end the video. Let's try one last one before we end the video, and then next video I'll come to that. So let's try one last rhythm. This one's going to be slightly trickier, so keep an eye out for that. Once again, I encourage you to, and you can double check if this looks slightly weird to you. But let me just make sure that this is a quarter note. Let me make that very, very clear. This may look like quite weird to you, but you can double check that in all cases that this is in fact the way it is. This is in fact the truth. This in fact works in a 4/4 time signature, right? So let's double check, shall we? So now I encourage you to pause the video and try to play this on your own. And I'm assuming you paused it, and now I'm going to play it. So once again, I'm going to count 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Once again, you'll have to just. I'm so sorry. My neighbors seem to really love construction today. Anyways, now I'm going to play it without counting. So, sorry, yeah, without counting. So now I'm going to play it without counting. So now I'm going to play it without counting. So now I'm going to play it without counting. As you can see, that's the case, that's how it works. Let's try one last one before we end this. One last rhythm. I'm writing it diagonally for some reason, if you will just excuse me. Let's try one last rhythm. I'll keep this one relatively simple. This is quite generic. Let me just make very clear that's a half note. That's also a half note. Hopefully it's legible. That's all that really matters in this case. Okay. Once again, you know the routine. Pause and try. I'm assuming you paused and tried. Now I will play it whilst counting. 1, 2, 3, 1. So sorry about the construction. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Once without counting. And that's about it. So as I said, so today we've talked about counting rhythm, clapping out rhythm in the 4/4 time signature, and that's indeed what we're gonna do tomorrow. But tomorrow we're gonna go and start talking about eighth notes. Tomorrow, I'm sorry, no, I did not mean to say tomorrow. I mean next class. The next class we're gonna be talking. So far we talked about quarter notes, half notes, and whole notes, and how to put them in our how to clap them out in the 4/4 time signature, how to read them, right? but in the next class we're going to also learn how to read 8th notes and 16th notes. So we're going to factor in these two now, and we're going to see if we can learn how to read these ones. And this one's going to be interesting. So stick around for that lesson, or if you want to watch it in time you want. But for this lesson, we've learned how to clap out notes in the 4/4 time signature, including the quarter note, whole note, and half note. Hopefully you found this lesson. Hopefully you found this lesson. Hopefully you found this lesson valuable. Hopefully you learned something interesting and you'll take it with you. I hope I've helped you in whatever you were hoping to accomplish. Hopefully you found this lesson helpful, and I'll see you next time. Hope you have a wonderful rest of the day.